My name is Olivia Kingsley. I completed my honours in psychology at the University of Western Australia, and my field is emotional wellbeing. I think I was always interested very broadly in psychology, particularly during my undergrad experience. I really loved the units, and I was interested in sort of understanding why we behave the way we do, and the reasons why people think and feel differently. And I think that's something that's definitely captured within the field of psychology. And then as I progressed through the degree a bit more and started getting a bit more familiar with research and doing some of those research units, I really connected with that way of thinking. I liked the idea that you could have a bit of information in front of you, but there was always different reasons why that could be there. It was that sort of critical analysis component that I found really exciting and quite challenging. You were never bored when you were looking at a study. So I think that there was that interest there, and I had a bit of an idea that I wanted to potentially go down the clinical master's route, and that I was interested in research. But of course, I didn't really know what that looked like. And for me, honours was the best way to explore it. Obviously, you do the thesis, and that's a very big research component. And then there's also more practical units that you do at the same time. And so I just felt like it was a great opportunity to understand a bit more about what it meant to do research, and to take my understanding of psychology to the next level. Yes, so I did a lot of background research. For me, it was important to pick a supervisor whose areas of interest aligned with my own. And I think, honours, it is a short year, and, whatever research you do, you're not locked into it, for the rest of your life. But I think it is what you make it. It can be a really great opportunity to start making connections and, potentially getting volunteer or working opportunities after you finish honours. And so for me, it was really important to do something that I could see myself doing in the future. So what I did to find out that information was, I think if you just Google UWA psychology supervisors, you will find sort of a list of everyone there. And I just sort of clicked through each person and decided on whose areas of research I found most exciting and most interesting, and then sort of touch base with them and went from there. I think just trying to juggle everything. It's a big year, and it's kind of like walking on a tightrope is how I think of it, when you're trying to balance your thesis and honours, which are really important to you because you really want to do well, it's really interesting, and then also you as a person outside of study. So you've got these two sort of conflicting needs that you need to focus on, and you don't want to fall too much on either side. You don't want to become so tunnel visioned with your thesis that you completely forget to be a human, and you also don't want to be so invested in your life that you completely forget to do your thesis. And so there were definitely times where I kind of leaned more one way than the other, and so bringing myself back and just trying to keep on a happy balance was really hard, but it's definitely doable. I think it's something I'm probably still learning, but that it's okay not to know everything, and you often won't know everything. There's always going to be another article you can read, or another time you can run your data analysis, or another time you can check over your draft. But, at some point you do have to draw the line somewhere, and it's actually okay to do that. It's okay to say, look, this is the first time I'm doing it. I'm new at this. I'm doing this to learn and to be curious, and not to get a mark on a piece of paper. While that mark is still important, it's okay to sort of enjoy the process a bit more. And I think from doing, I didn't really feel it at the time, but I think having come out of it now and having had a bit of time to reflect, I definitely learned how to enjoy being new at something, and how to, be okay with not knowing everything. I think what would have been really nice when I was going through honours was being a bit more involved with my cohort, and that was quite hard because it was during COVID times anyway, and so there was that online element that was tricky. But I think if I had spent a bit more time getting to know people or being involved in a lab a bit more, that could have been really great to have that support from other students. I know, having come out of honours and stayed on it in the lab where I did my honours and getting to know those honours students, it's really nice to have that team environment. So probably if I'd put a bit more effort into getting to know everyone a bit more. Yeah, there were lots of stressful times. I think, it's nothing new or profound, but taking it back to the basics of sleeping well, getting out and moving, doing things that make you happy, some of that self-care stuff is really important, because while it doesn't get rid of the stress that you feel, it gives you this sort of buffer or this protection when you know stressful times are going to come up. You know that it's going to be a bit of a mad rush towards the end of the thesis, and so if you've sort of taken care of your body and your mind in other ways, it makes you a little bit stronger to deal with that stress. So that was really helpful to me. And then asking for help from friends, family, and my supervisor was, in the times where I was sort of in crisis and not sure what I was doing, is how I helped manage that as well. Oh, that's such a nice question. Yeah, the lead up to my submission was, it felt chaotic. It was stressful. I think a lot of students who go on and do honours have perfectionistic tendencies, or they really care about what they're doing. And so for me, the lead up to submission, I was just reading through everything and wanting to make sure that I had got everything down and checking my references. And so I think that was quite full on of really wanting to make sure it was all there. And then the submission itself, it was fine. I would recommend not doing it too close to the due date because things go wrong with technology. So I gave myself at least 4 hours before it was actually due. So that got rid of any issues there. And then celebrations, God, I can't really remember, but I just remember feeling ecstatic of having gotten it in. But it didn't hit till about the next day because I was so exhausted after I submitted. And then the next day, sort of waking up and realising, oh, I don't actually have to read this ever again. It was a pretty amazing feeling. Practical advice, just make a start. Try not to avoid doing the first draft. The first draft is really hard because you have the entire thesis in front of you. You're not really working on anything. You're starting it from scratch, and that can just feel like the most daunting task in the world. But if you just sort of write something, it doesn't have to be good. You might change the whole thing later, but at least you've kind of, you've made a start, obviously, and you're working on something then, rather than, starting all from scratch. So that would be, yeah, just start. Don't worry too much about what comes out, but just do it. And then I guess this is so much easier said with hindsight, but try and enjoy the process as much as you can. You try and connect with your supervisor, make the most of that resource. There's some pretty incredible minds at UWA and you can learn so much from them. So yeah, get to know them and ask them questions if you're interested. It's hard to say. Given that I finished pretty much a year ago, I can look back sort of with rose-tinted glasses a little bit and think, yeah, it was fine. At the time, it was pretty hard. I'm not going to lie. It's a great year, but it's a sprint. You've got, I think it comes down to about 8 months in the end where you have to get everything done. And while you learn so much and it's one of the most rewarding years of the degree, it's probably not a sustainable way to do research. And so I have no regrets about doing it. I think it was one of the best years I've ever done at uni, but moving forward, probably wouldn't do research in that way. I definitely do research in other ways, but not the honours year. probably a combination of clinical work and research. I know that UWA is really huge on the scientist practitioner model, which is something that obviously through training here I've sort of internalized a bit. So I really like that model of working. So maybe potentially working as a clinical psychologist, but then also doing research at the same time, looking at emotional well-being and maybe child and adolescent mental health as well. From my experience, obviously making the most of your time at uni and really, trying hard and, being involved in your studies and putting effort in there. But also, I think some of the best things I've also done have been on the side. So doing a bit of volunteering, whatever that looks like for you. There are some great organisations out there that love taking students on. And so, like being a bit curious and seeing what's out there and trying to make connections, even through work, working at private practice and reception is really great. The volunteering stuff, talking to people, talking to other researchers. I think when I was thinking about applying, I spoke to about 5 different people about their research. And if you're doing the combined program, you don't want to just do the PhD on the side because it's there, like why not? It's something that you're going to be an expert in by the end of it. It's something that's going to be your life for a while, and so you want to do something that you care about, that you're really interested in, that you can see yourself doing, in the long run. And the only way you can find that out is by talking to people and seeing what they're doing and having a bit of time to self-reflect and considering, what your own strengths and weaknesses are. I think what has been really helpful for me was taking this year off from uni. And it's not everyone needs to take time off, but I think having gone quite quickly through, high school and undergrad and honours, I did need a bit of time to just sit back and think, okay, I've done all this stuff in the past couple years. What does it all mean for me now, and where do I want to see myself going? So, I think to boil that down, try hard with all the study stuff because it is important and it's interesting. I mean, it's not the most important thing, but it's good to do. See what else is out there outside of uni, if you can get a little bit more experience, maybe more practical side of things, and talk to people. You make the most of the people who are here. It can feel so daunting to talk to researchers and academics. I remember feeling nervous, but everyone's so lovely and everyone loves talking about their research. They will talk at you for ages. So just go and have a chat and see what's out there.